How you doing? Um, can you hear me and see everything okay? Sound? Brian, is the sound all right? Ah, good. I was playing around with it earlier today and it had a hard time starting up. It's a very unusual thing. How you doing? The Hanjay, is that right? Football fan? Rancher, good to see you. I was trying to work out. Uh, Jerome de Marseille. How you doing, man? Um, we suddenly today we have great weather. We've been rainy and sort of overcast. Today's very good one. Nice day today. Anyway, let me get started here, and I wanted to ask you guys some of the different things. Yeah, that's right. We do. Some of the things I wanted to ask you guys about. There were a number of different things that I've seen, that I've done, and I just want to sort of find out how effective it is. And one of the things I've always wondered about were interviews. I've interviewed. Oh, I haven't done that many. I interviewed Nick English, who is one of the CEOs at Bremont, number of years ago, about a year ago. In fact, it was right before we all got locked up for the pandemic back in, good grief, 2020, I think, that I interviewed Edouard Melon. And I both of the guys that I interviewed were really wonderful, but and I've seen other interviews that have been done. And hey, JJ, and I was wondering, well, how useful they are. Abdul, good to see you. The reason I'm asking is that I mean, if if I were interviewed about Larique, I don't think that'd be too difficult because pretty much everything we have we're not a business, we're something else. And um I guess I would what I'm saying is that is anything useful done, or is it simply sort of a chance for a CEO or some bigwig to not bigwig, but somebody running uh, a watch company to promote it. So that was so that was the kind of stuff. Not that anybody would, well, they might blow some smoke, but for the most part, they'd simply want to talk about what they're doing, and I more of like sort of an ad, I guess. So, what do you think of those of interviews with people who are like in the business? Curious about it. Hey, Thomas, William, what do you guys think? Any comments? I mean, have you ever seen a? I'm trying to remember. Have I ever? I I felt I did get something for me out of the interview that I had with Melon. Namely the fact that so much of their business was on Strawman hairsprings. But I don't know whether that kind of thing was interesting to anybody else or not. Unbiased user interviews. How about biased user interviews? You if you talk to a Rolex lover or a Rolex hater, we already know ahead of time what they're gonna say. "Hey, Abrabia Felix, interviews would be interesting depending on the, topic and people." Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think I don't know, there's on the one hand, what if, somebody from Breitling, for example, or IWC and says, "How come you guys are naming, your movements, sound like they're in-house and they're not?" Something like that. "Well, we do that for this and this." Problem with interviews is usually the interviewer is trying to sell you something. Yeah, this would be something I think I think you did. I was gonna say if somebody interviewed me about Larique right now, I could be fairly objective about because we don't have any room for anybody else. I mean, if we were trying to sell more watches, uh, we'd be in we couldn't. I mean, we sort of the way things worked out. Um, on the other hand, I'm would love to talk about how we did it. A bunch of guys got together and how we got a watch and how we worked with the different people in Switzerland and how we worked with each other. That was sort of fun, but I don't know. I just whether that would be useful to anyone or not. I don't know. Hi, ABC. Can this watch something like that? Interviews with watchmakers is great, particularly since most people that watch your channel are into movements. That's you got a point there. You know, there was one time at one of the watch time shows, I talked to Kari Voutilainen, Marco Lang, um, the guy who is Aki Riva, the head of that. Anyway, talked to him and some other people and asked them about why they preferred the lower frequency rates. And so that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. If you talk to a watchmaker, some watchmakers, there was one guy who was he wrote an article and it was in one of the articles reading and he was talking about how much he liked servicing um, ETA movements because he could get parts for them. So he was going on about what a great movement they were. Now they're not bad movements by any stretch of the imagination, but if all you can get parts for is one kind of watch, you're probably going to see very positive things about it. What else you got to say? Yeah, James, CEOs are great sales reps. I agree with that. If you interviewed watchmakers and not the sales guys, yeah, it rings. Swiss Watch Gang is the right guy to talk to about small scale production watches. Okay. Um, Football fan. Are you the only YouTuber I've seen that informative about watch movements? I wish you would show us how to research the mystery of that. What's inside? Yeah, this is one thing I've football fan. This is what I've encouraged everybody to do is take a course in watchmaking. That really helps. This is the kind of thing. Now, this is sort of fun for me. I think I was trying to explain how I was gonna this is how a Maltese Falcon works, how a Maltese, stop system works, something like that with all of this gizmos and things. I don't know whether that is particularly helpful or not, but it was sure a lot of fun for me to have things to play with like that. Hey, Tim, how's it going? It's a beautiful day, yeah. You must be back in Connecticut. I was talking to, Matu, our designer in, Geneva earlier today. He says, "Well, we're having a beautiful weather." I think, with Connecticut, and then on and then up in the Swiss Alps having good weather. Um, okay, well, that was one thing. I wasn't sure. I think I if I talk to someone like FP Journe would rather do it in French, but someone like Kari Voutilanen or somebody who is, um, is an interesting guy to interview, and I did interview him, and he was one of the people we interviewed is, RGM, Roland Murphy. He's the head of RGM, watches, and, I like him. He's very down to earth kinda guy. Okay, that was one thing. What about a Q&A, format? Okay, well, you got a couple other things. Do you know if Vesero and Constantine or any of the Trinity black polish their screw heads on their movements? Oh, boy. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I don't know for sure. It's a good question. Abdul, even if the Black Forest, the weather was good, we'll be raining from tomorrow again. Yeah, we've had a lot of rain. I mean, yeah, boy, we're having a spring and a half of flowers and blossoms and everything. Watching videos from Horological Society of New York are great. Yeah, I like those too. They have those are formal presentations and people have questions about them. I agree, James. Those are great. Um, I'd like to see Paul Garber interviews. So would I. I really like his stuff. Paul Gerber is a guy who makes I think pretty affordable watches. One of the watches he has, they've got these, and this is sort of a funny reason to like a watch, but I do. It has three rotors on the back, and they look like they're sort of miniature rotors, and for winding. And I think the rest of the watch is an ETA watch, but he set up these triple rotors, and I also like the way I like the way things have been done. Yeah, we get the whole neighborhood is green. We've had bears galore too. They're out and about now. I was taking the mail out the other day, and here comes a bear trotting across the neighbor's yard toward me, and I ran away. I was gonna it was, "Hello, goodbye, bear." Okay, let's go on. Next thing I wanted to, talk about was, how about a Q&A format? This is something that I noticed that, Federico did or does, and he'll get a bunch of things in that people ask. He says, "Oh," from people, and then answer their questions. Do you think things like that would be a useful kind of thing to have? What do you think? 'Cause it would be helpful. Oh, yeah, right now, live. That doesn't count. What what he has, he simply has I guess he has who else I think did send it? Archie Luxury did that for a while. Um, but anyway, I was it was just and you never know what was coming out, but it was sort of interesting. Q&A once a month would be good. Okay, a little bit is a good thing. I've seen some of your videos, which no one I is making. Such videos must go through your whole list. Okay, well, thank you. Alright, I'll try to figure out something like that. Are you going to charge us to ask a question like Archie? Oh, what a good idea. No. Archie has I don't know, poor Archie is this is one thing. I am probably the worst person on money making. I think we figured out a way with Larique how not to make money, but how to in a normal way. Federico takes 5 or 6 questions on Instagram. The Q&A lasts for about 10 minutes. I like it, but it's too short. Okay. Yeah, I like, I gotta have I gotta talk to Federico's dresser, going back have him go back to his Brooks Brothers polos. It was jeez. Okay. How about a live Q&A on Watch Arts? Your live show, with young Brando was super. You know, James, I like that idea, but someone else will have to put it on, then they can ask. Yeah, I like that with Eli. He's great. I haven't heard from him for a while. You won't buy a paddock, because of Archie. I won't buy any, after 2009 for different reasons, so it's nothing to do with Archie. Would be fascinating to see you maybe do interviews with real collectors. Where am I gonna find a real collector? We got a lot of real collectors. I tell you, um, I I have a hard time. I used to do we used to do collection reviews. We had that as one of our things. It didn't go over too well. And so I quit doing it, and then I put in these short ones, these best pocket videos, and sort of a lunch break or something, a short, and even that, cookie break. Hmm. Uh, s- Setting up live, I tell you the guys that like to leave the live stuff too. I mean, with interviews and stuff, because they have everything set up for it. There's I don't know, coordinating all of that. Um, I don't know. I got that's other people can do it, and then I think it's worthwhile. Yeah, that might if I could figure out how that would be done. Okay, diagrams. You like diagrams and things like that. Sometimes I have them with sort of like how the movement and the gear train and how in this is sort of a 3D diagram, that kind of thing. I don't know if that's helpful or that's just weird. Um, Perhaps a live Q&A with a watchmaker. Pedersen did a while back. Yeah. I thought that your recent video on German watch brands was excellent. Okay, thanks. More features like that would be great. All right, Darkstar. I enjoy people talking about their watch collections and journey. Okay. Yeah, live interviews. It's more. I mean, my God, I've got have to arm wrestle this sound system I got to get things working. Years ago, about 20 years ago, maybe not that long ago, about close. Yeah, it's getting that. It's close to 20 years ago. 2003, 2004, right in there. That was when I was working with, Adobe, and we were actually developing this streaming technology, and I had no problem writing code, and we had a thing that was worked just like a regular news show almost. I could hit something and different things would happen. The problem was getting the bandwidth back then. But, now the kinds of stuff that they have are I don't know, setting them up becomes somewhat problematic. I think the technology of it, some people can handle it really well, and if they, that is in terms of a general thing, sort of their style, and I think those are great. Um, I would, God, I tell you, I'm sort of crowded here. I got my room full of books and gizmos and things like that around. Uh, I would really like to have something where I could, somebody sit down here, but I mean, we live in called the boondocks. People don't want to come out here because of the bears. A weird kind of thing. Okay, let's see what else you got. I know that was a lot of work setting up a bad pun. Okay. Uh-oh, where is it? All right, there maybe, have diagrams showing the different German watch brands interact. Thin diagrams. Oh my god. Yes. That's a lot of work to set up. Oh god. Okay, you did my pocket review about, 3 years ago. Okay, Tim. A pie chart of the Glashütte brands. Uh, how about people sending you a photo of their collections and you discussing it? Dark Star, I I don't here's sort of the way I like to do things, and I mean, unless, somebody sends me a collection of really what I would consider dumb watches to collect, I wouldn't say that. I would be nice to them. I just I mean, it becomes very difficult to have, at least for me, um, it's it was I belong to that, "Does this outfit make me look fat?" kind of thing. You never say, "Oh, yeah, it does." I feel the same way about a watch collection. People who collect watches collect them under all kinds of different contexts, okay? Now, if somebody came in with a whole collection of brand new Rolexes and asked me to review them, what could I say? The person likes Rolexes. It that's why I have a hard time, and especially doing it face to face. Um, I don't know. There's so much negative stuff out there, that I can't be negative to about about somebody's collection, because people make mistakes, and I have, God knows I have. I've collected watches that I thought were one thing, they turned out to be something else. That's why I'm very much wanna know what movement is in there, because that tells you something about what they put into it. Those guys who've been working with Larique, we know about the movement because that's the most expensive aspect of the watch by far. That and the way we do it, soles of the case, and now we're going into expensive dials. So we find out, let's go find something expensive and blow money on it. Um, yeah, I anyway, so it's sort of that kind of thing. That's sort of how I feel about those dark stars. Not I just, I don't wanna hurt people's feelings. I'd rather talk about the you know, there's people say, "Well, I'm not too critical." Yeah, I am. I won't buy watches with that they stuff them with silicone hairsprings. That's not a very nice thing to say, and I know a lot of guys have watches that are really nice with those in them. But that's just, that's about as mean as I get right now. Maybe I'll have to get tough. Anything but hype and flexing. Okay. Right. Um, you unboxed a February, yeah. Oh, did you get a good deal on it, football fan? Let me tell you, I gotta tell you, I got it on now. These you can if you they have a few of them left on, Chrono 24. These are so much better than I thought. I was hoping against hope. Everything I'd read about them before, said that they had a Frederick, Piguet, movement in it, but they didn't say which one. And of course, Fabergé has its own numbering thing. I forgot what it was, 187 or some other crazy number like that. Uh, but it turns out that they do have a Frederick Piguet movement, and it's the 1150. And here's what threw me was that the 1150, for the most part, has 3 hertz, which I really like. But for some reason, I took this and I put it on a time grapher, and it was 4 hertz. I thought, "Oh, man, don't tell me they put an ETA in there," because most ETAs are 4 hertz. Um, and so but then I looked at it, and I finally found a source that showed all of the different versions of the 1150 that they made, and a couple of them were 4 hertz, and I found one with the exact dimensions of mine with 4 at 4 hertz. And so it's that kind of thing that and I've been happier than a clam at high tide with my new Alexi, you know, even with even with a solid, back. Here's why this is sort of an irony, I guess. I love every one of my watches just about has a back to it that you can see it. This is on my Culpa, one of my favorite back views because it's got that big gold rotor in there with what's it called? I forgot what the French name for it, but it's a barley corn motif on it. And the the few watches that I have, like this Daniel Roth, this one it has a solid back to it. And when I opened up my Alexi, here was this looked like a roadkill chicken that they had that covered the entire that was part of the rotor that covered all of the movement, and even when I went in there, you couldn't see it. I finally was able to get the regulator, enough of the regulator, and, Egon and some other people who are watchmakers said, "Yeah, that's an 1150." And, but it was so I thought, all I'd see is the Imperial Russian seal on that, and, that's not as interesting, but if I could see the kind of this is what I like to see in a movement, what's on a Georg are you can just see everything. I mean, sort of an education in it. Hey, I saw a watch, a Chopek, a new Chopek that came out, and it had these little, finger bridges, and each finger bridge had a separate, um, gearing for the gear train, just like the Georg. And God, I tell you, that's a very cool watch. That's one that, I think and I don't know what the, frequency was on it, probably 3 or 4, but, sort of a cool thing. Ah, okay. Um, those, Brian, I think those are reference numbers, and then they have a whole other set. This is what they did. You come with a little book, and it said, "These are the different movements we have." And what you get an F reference number for the movement along with the dimensions, but they don't wait, do they have the frequency? They might have, yeah, they have the frequency as well. That's what I'm saying. Well, which one's mine? Which one did they put in my watch? So anyhow, uh, Dream of Larique 10th edition. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I hope we have a 10th edition. I hate her. Shame about the closed case back. Ah, yeah, I know. But here's the thing, a closed case back is it's a solid gold coast case back, so not so bad. Um, oh, time's up. Yeah. Oh, that's okay, Brian. No, that was, you're right. There are 3 different kinds, and this one has, I think, the most, um they have big and little Roman numerals, and then they have one with just big Roman numerals, and then they have one, I think, with just indicators on it. Great deal. Don't offer them what they're asking. Put in about couple thousand bucks less, and they wanna they wanna get rid of it because this is why, every other people are complaining, all these other channels, all they talk about are, Rolexes and Omegas and, Seikos and things like that. Nothing wrong with that because that leaves all of the good stuff for us. That's the way I look at it. Okay, guys, well, listen, I um oh, by the way, too, I found a poor old, Brit who we were talking about this morning a little, Britt Pierce. She really got banged up on a car hit her on her bicycle and ended up breaking her hip and her jaw. She's all banged up. That's a shame. So anyway, um, I guess, but she seems she'll bounce back. In the meantime, everybody take care, be safe, and don't get run over by on your bicycle.